plastic and we
process of infrastructure of the school. We never disturb the topsoil of the school.
Here we have lots of plants planted. We avoid plastic and we plant so many trees. We use recycled water for watering plants. Our school is eco-friendly because around the whole school there are like a number of plants.
We also have 70% of open area in our school.
At the entrance of our school, there's a row of trees which is called as the green barrier.
There's always chill breeze around the school, and that's wonderful.
These are the 8-sided walls, not the regular square shape.
We have porotherm bricks which traps heat, and we have heat resistant glasses.
The uniform is actually made of bamboo fiber. It keeps you cool, and when you feel cold, it keeps you warm. And you can choose which one you want to wear every day. At the pupil, we don't have exams. We have different kinds of music over here, which is quite interesting, like classical and western.
Our principal Dolly ma'am remembers every student by their names.
We have weaving in our school.
Carpentry is something that not all schools teach, and this is extremely different than the other schools.
We have an honesty shop where we buy stationery items. If you want to take something, you have to drop it in the money box and then we take it.
It's totally an eco school where you have the drip irrigation system.
There's a program in our school named as the Green Ambassador. Check the pollution rates of the vehicles. The second, we have checked the water leakage in our restrooms. If there are no one in the classroom, if the AC or the fan is switched on, we switch it off.
The pupil provides a new model of education, and it is the school of future.
So this was about our school. A very warm welcome once again to all gathered here. So today we have with us in the Pupil Career Talk series, S. Vilasini, international surfer and stand-up peddler, to speak about the world of sports and the career options available in the field. A very warm welcome to you once again, and happy to have you with us.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yes, the Pupil Savita Eco School started in the year 2012 under the leadership of Dr. N.M. Veerayan, with a mission to facilitate children to think independently, gain the confidence and skills to excel in their own chartered path, and find the courage to stand firm on their morals and values. As a community, we strive to create a culture of inquiry, acceptance, and mutual respect, where every child is celebrated for their uniqueness, encouraged to express themselves freely, and learn without limit and inhibitions. Our directors, Dr. Savita and Dr. Rajesh, guide us and lead us and have made this school one of the best schools in the city. A very warm welcome to you, madam and sir. This Pupil Career Series is one such initiative from our beloved director, Dr. Savita, for the students to make them aware of the various fields of study. They are also exposed now to numerous fields available to choose from, and this is the 11th episode of our Career Talk series. A warm welcome to all the students and parents for joining us for this informative and educative session. Before we move on to the session, I would like to show you a small video about our speaker today. Very, very inspiring person. And yesterday when we were interacting with her, she spoke about skills which the children need to develop. And I think, Vilasini, you would have got an idea from the video which we showed how we develop the skills in children, right? So you would be speaking more about it today. We would be very happy to listen to you. Yeah, but before Vidya introduces the speaker, I would like to show you all a small video about our guest. So this was a small video about her. Very, very inspiring to see the video. May I now request Mrs. Vidya?
Thank you,
Mrs.
Lakshmi
Vidya?
ma'am. Yeah. Are you able to hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, Vidya.
Okay. So happy morning, one and all. Thank you, Lakshmi ma'am. Definitely, yes. It was so inspiring. And I'm so glad that I got an opportunity to introduce Vilasini to all of you. Vilasini Sundar followed her heart, her love of water, ocean, and the waves made her dive into water sports very early in life. Vilasini is the national surfing and stand-up paddle champion since 2016. She was the first female surfer from Tamil Nadu to pursue the sport professionally. She was also a junior national gold medalist in swimming before pursuing surfing. Secured around 70 medals in the national and zonal level championships and around 300 medals in the state championships. From being a swimming champ to serving pro, she also manages academic at her top notch, and her passion for sports pushed her to pursue sports science at Sri Ramachandra Institute of Higher Education and Research. She is also known as the Indian Mona, currently working as sports and exercise specialist, swimming in Fitness First landmark groups in Dubai, UAE. Hearty welcome to you, Vilasini. We are really looking forward for the session. And as you might have seen in the video, we have aspiring sports enthusiastic from the school. So we are really looking forward for your session. Over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And it's my pleasure to be part of this wonderful career talk series. I saw the previous list of people. They were like very big people like Sailendra Babu sir and a lot of other very good celebrities and well-known people in their respective fields. So thank you for choosing me and giving me an opportunity. And I will give my best of knowledge to the kids and to all the people present here today morning. Thank you, ma'am. And very thanks for Sarita ma'am and the school principal, Dolly ma'am, and all other teachers to also finally approve me and to showcase myself to the kids. Thank you, ma'am. So can I start sharing the PPT, ma'am?
Yes, sure, Vilasini. Go ahead.
So follow your heart. So I'm Vilasini Sundar, like Vidya ma'am introduced. So she introduced a lot, but I'm right now a sports and exercise specialist and a professional water sport athlete. So by the end of the hour, you will know why I call myself a water sport athlete. So, and also, so the next slide is balancing sports and academics. So I'm going to basically tell a little about myself. So how I balance as a kid to be a professional in my sport and also to balance my academics. So during my early school days, I was a swimmer. So I started swimming about when I was 2 years old, and it was like my parents used to take me to the Marina swimming pool in Chennai. So that's how it started. So every summer they used to carry me to the pool, and I used to have a lot of fun there. And then from school, from grade 1, I had swimming as a part of my curriculum. So I would say because of that also it grew in me. And from first grade onwards till 12th, I started competing. So it became from school, inter-house, CBSE clusters meet, or be the interstate or the state championship or the national level championship. So I started swimming professionally for the next 10 years from 2003 to 2013. So that's how my swimming journey started, and how my routine used to be as a kid, and how I grew different from others in the sense. So for me, so I used to ask this question to my parents, like, why can't I wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning and just go straight away to school instead of going to the practice early in the morning? So my wake up used to be around 4:15 to 4:30 in the morning, and I'll be at the swimming pool by 5:30. 5:30 till 8 train, and then I have a short break of 8 to 8:30 where I have to get myself ready and eat breakfast in the car. So my eating or everything happens in the car, and then by 8:30 I'll be in the school, and then from 8:30 to 3:30 I'll be in the school, and I'm back again by 4 to training. 4 till 6:30 to 7 I used to train. So my house and my training spot was like 25 kilometers away. So from Valacheri to Chepak, and then I studied in Chettinad Vidya Ashram. So my travel used to be like for every day 1.5 hours in the traffic. And after swimming training in the evening, my studying all used to happen in the car. So my parents put a small lamp light, and I used to study in the car. So this is how my probably my childhood till 10th grade went on. And so this is how it was. And I always used to ask, why am I doing this? I kept questioning. But few years down the lane, I got the answers for it. So when do I study? So my studying all happens in the car, or maybe early in the morning, 4 to 3:15 to 4:15 before going to the swim practice. Or I manage myself. If I get a free hour in school, I sit and do my homework. So that's how my school used to be. And my board exams. So during 12th, 10th to 12th, I was in the national camp in Bangalore with the Indian coach, Mr. Pradeep Kumar. So I couldn't go to school. So from 10th to 12th, my teachers used to help me by sending notes and everything mail, and I had a good amount of friends in school. So they used to courier me the notes, whatever is taken in the class. So if the board exams was in March, I came right in November to the school to even start studying. So I haven't like started, people would have started studying by April itself and covered the portions from 11th onwards. But I started studying only from November. And because I was traveling for the tournaments, and it was a very short period, and it was a little stressful period also, I would say. But I knew the true people around me during that time, the teachers, how much effort they put, the principal, or the friends around me who actually really helped me, came forward and helped me. So this was the short period where I did this. But why am I telling this to the kids? Right now, being in the pandemic, it's very uncertain, and I know it's also very hard for the kids who are doing the 10th and 12th, if they're having the exams or not. Should we study or not? all this keeps happening. So in my house, or to me, it was always, you need to balance both. You cannot give up studying, you cannot score less, not giving up. You can't even think about giving up. You can't score less and just pursue the sport. In my house, it was always not even 50-50, they say 100-100. So my mom, if I don't get 85 or 90%, she's going to ask me. Or if you go to the pool, if I don't come first, the coach is going to ask. Over a period of time, it became a habit to myself that I should score 85 or 90 in academics and also be the champion in the pool. So that's how you need to balance. We need, at being at this stage of life or this century, we need to balance both. Whatever you're doing, you need to balance it. So that's how it is. Even if you're dancing, even if you're playing any extracurricular activity, we will have to study, and we will also have to be the best in the co-curricular activity. So, and then the next chapter of my life, the new chapter is the following my passion. So after 12th, so I took commerce in school, and according to my parents' guidance, to well-wishers' guidance, I pursued chartered accountancy, and I took BCom in correspondence. And so I used to go to the chartered accounting class, and swimming was slowly cutting down from 12th grade onwards, because managing chartered accountancy and swimming is, they don't say it's a tough time. In chartered accountancy, you need to spend a lot of time in the class because it's a highly competitive exam, and me being an athlete, to compete with the other kids in being in a CA class, it was hard. So I had to invest myself more into the class. But over a period of time, over 2 years, there was an accountancy sir who said few things. So when I had taken the 12th break, the 6 months where when I was studying for the board exams, that's what the time I found a new sport called surfing. So my mom used to read in Kumundam and Ananda Vigadan books, Tamil magazines, and I read once in the Hindu newspaper stating that they have the new national championship hosted in Chennai at Kovalam. So this was in 2012 or 13. So I really wanted to learn the sport. All the while I was thinking the sport is not even like in India. You'll have to travel abroad to learn the sport. But then when I came to know it's right in Chennai, a little closer to a Chennai place called Kovalam. So I made sure that I wanted to do the sport somehow during my 12th to have a stress burst for myself. And then I went on to learn the sport, and this sport became like a hobby between academics and swimming or going to CA classes. And then at one fine time, so my account sir was missing a few classes, just hardly 1 or 2 classes, but then he wasn't convinced about it. And then he called me, and then he was like, don't choose a profession because it gives you money. Follow your passion, money will come to you. So he just called, and he told me this, and he went off. And I couldn't realize why he told me this. And he said, don't come to class, go, and all this. He was like, and then I didn't realize that point. And then another day he was like, a lot of people can do CA, but not many people can do what you're actually doing, Vilasni. This is not the place for you. You should be doing something different. And this came up, and by the time when I was doing CA, I was also doing a lot of other courses that is related into science or swimming, basically something into sport. So this was happening, and what happened the same year in the month of August, this was in 2015, we had the National Surf Championship, which is going to be held right in Chennai. So I've been happily surfing like freelance, like what do they say, for leisure surfing. I was doing the leisure surfing, and then my sponsor and the boys from the Kovalam, why do I say the boys? Because there's a lot of boys in the village from Kovalam, and the village boys are the best in India. They come from a very normal backgrounded family, but every single boy from the village could afford a surfboard. They somehow try and manage, they work hard, they go fishing, they find sponsors, or somehow the other they find a surfboard to themselves. I think in another 5-6 years, the village will be called the surfing village from Tamil Nadu. So it's so the boys, everybody, which is just like everybody plays cricket in our country in the streets. The village boys surf in that village. So they was all like, you're really good at sport. Why not you train and give it a shot in the national championship? So in August 2015, I started training from Jan for the next 8 months. And I'm also doing CA and my accounts are SASTIS, and I made it to the nationals. And in the nationals, I came fourth. But the good thing was when I came fourth, we had an Asian Surf Championship in just 2 weeks' time. And then they said the first 4 girls, whoever came 1, 2, 3, 4, gets a chance to be part of the Asian Surf Championship. So we were the first ever 4 girls from India to be at the Asian Surf Championship representing our country. And then my surfing became full time. I started getting a lot of sponsors, and I slowly even started falling in love with the sport. And sports science from CA is another way. I had attended a conference, Indian Medical Sports Medicine Conference, because I was too involved into sport and I wanted to know what's actually happening and what's the latest updates the doctor would say, or the sports specialist would say, or the physio would say. So I went to a conference, and from a volunteer from there, I spoke to a girl, and then she said there's a course called Sports Science in Ramachandra, and I was like, okay, I really need to do this. And because deep down inside my heart from 10th, I wanted to do MBBS, and then I wanted to do sports medicine. But because of various reasons, being in the Indian camp, I couldn't go to school because if I need to go to school, like if I have to go to the camp, I can't pursue science because, I have to be physically present in school to do all the practicals and stuff. So that's the reason I didn't choose. But somehow I wrote some entrance, and they gave me an opportunity to do sports science in Ramachandra. Thanks to all the faculties and people who actually accepted me and offered me to do the course. And I did sports science from 2016 to 20, and I kept surfing at the national level championship from 2015 to 2019. So 2020 and 2021 didn't happen. So yeah. So why I'm telling this to the kids is, or the parents or the teachers, it is okay, and it is totally okay to change a sport. Though I was in the top in the sports swimming, being a junior national gold medalist and a national champion, it's totally okay after a point to change a sport. When I did have a lot of questions. I never told my friends or my close swimming friends or the even the coaches who know me. I never told them I'm actually surfing. It was all kept very secretive until I come to the top in the sports surfing. Because obviously people are going to question you, why are you changing your sport after so many years? All this will come. And then from chartered accountancy to jumping to sports science, in my house, they were totally not convinced about it. Being me as a teen, they were like, what are you doing? You're changing your sport, you're changing your career from a commerce background to science background. So all these questions coming up. So why I kept follow my heart is one of the reasons. You will know what you really want to do, and at some point, and you will know you're best at it. And by the time, and you will also start getting recognition. Even in surfing, initially I didn't get, but you will slowly start getting recognition for whatever you're doing. Even if people don't recognize you, you will know you're doing best to yourself. So it is okay, and to change your career at any point of in your time, being as in your teens and 20s, or even changing a sport or learning something new. It's totally okay. So that's why I tried telling this. And so my mantra is, wherever I am, whatever I do, I'll be the best. So this is what I keep telling to myself. Now I live in Dubai, and it's a new city. I've worked a very long time. I built a strong foundation in India or Chennai, but I've moved here. People don't realize me as a national champion, or people don't realize me as a surfing champion. I have to build myself from the beginning. So what I keep telling myself is, wherever I am, whatever I do, I'm going to be the best. I will be the best. So this is what I keep telling to myself, and I think it does help others also. So coming to academics. So be in sport, what are the other options we get to do after 12th grade or post to in your undergraduation? So now in India, We have the BSc Sports and Exercise Science. Before, initially we didn't have. The few universities in the south are really good, and they are in Karnataka and even in Tamil Nadu. They have this course called BSc Sports and Exercise Science. It's a 4-year course. So basically the background has to be a science background for the students. I think if you write some exams, they're going to accept you even if you don't come from a science background. So this is a one course, and we have physical education, clinical nutrition, allied health science. So these are the other options for you to do in undergraduate, and I'll tell you how allied health science or clinical nutrition is going to help you to do a post graduation or to pursue a career into it. And biochemistry. So biochemistry is another option you can do to getting into a sporting career as well. BSc kinesiology is right now not in India. Kids, even if you want, you can note down. I can also let you know what are the courses we have in India, what are the courses we can fly abroad and do it, or even if you can't fly abroad, you can still do the courses online. So BSc kinesiology is still not in India, but we have it in the West, in the US and Canada. And sports management, we do have in India now. Clinical psychology, we do have. Journalism, communication, we do have. And another option to do sporting, it's also, you can do MBBS. I know people who been balancing MBBS and going for Olympic trials. So we can do it. So what is the post-graduation courses? So usually if you do BSc Sports Science, you can do MSc in Sports Science. And if you do BSc in Sports Science, another course called MSc in Biomechanics. So MSc in Biomechanics is moreover, you learn about human movement science, and there's a lot of physics involved in it. Human motion, 3D, 2D analysis. You would see biomechanics. Suppose a bowler is bowling at 120 speed. So, the fast bowler, when he's bowling, we can figure out if his chucking action is correct, at what speed is he bowling, at what angle is he doing, and what are the techniques we can improve, and we can do all these kind of analysis, human motion analysis to the athletes. So now in India, cricket is a sport which has been popularly doing biomechanics testing, but the other sports like rowing, shooting, and even the archery, they've been doing testing on this. So it's very popular. It's a very good course, and it's a very booming course, I would also say. And we are also having labs in India right now. And MSc in strength and conditioning. So MSc in strength and conditioning. So again, I would give an example from cricket. If you see with the Indian team cricket, or if you see any IPL matches, you will have a strength and conditioning coach with them. They're not called the trainers. They're called the strength and conditioning coaches, where they will look into the fitness level. So you want to be in the national team, or you want to be in the state team, there's a strength and conditioning coach where you have to assess your fitness level. So he's the one, though you play cricket, so you're going to have a fielding coach, you're going to have a fast bowling coach, you're going to have a normal coach where it is. But still, to develop your strength and your endurance, or all the fitness aspects, components, you need a strength and conditioning coach. However, in India, largely people, the loyal, I mean, like maybe you would say 10 years ago, the people, they do a certification course. They do a undergraduation, and they do a certification course. It is good. There are from recognized institutions where you can do the certification course. But then if you go to Europe, or you come to a country like UAE, it doesn't matter what certification you have. It really matters, do you have an undergraduation or post graduation in your respective field, because that's how, when they give you the license to practice, because we are dealing with humans, and we are being very technical in terms with the athletes. So they expect to have a UG or a PG in your respective field. So they don't, certification is just going to be an additional. So MSc in strength and conditioning is also a very a very valuable course, which is largely pursued in a country like Europe. So in UK and Europe, you can do masters in strength and conditioning, but right now we don't have it in India. They do it online and it's a diploma course. I wouldn't suggest you to do it. So MSc in sports nutrition we do have, and there's something called PGCE, your post-graduation certification in education. So now you're in 12th, but when you grow up, nobody knows you want to become a teacher, right? So you can do physical education in India, and you can do a certification called PGCE. So it is a very popular certification in Europe, and it is also good to be followed because we have international curriculums and UK curriculum, European curriculums, and it's okay even if you're following the CBSE to learn more. It's more about a teaching certificate, and it's a 1-year course. It's like a PG. It's like a PG. So this is what is largely practiced in Europe or to work in UAE. So this is one of the course I would suggest if you want to become like a head of the PT department. So here, if you do physical education and if you do PGCE, you get a very top or a good post in a school. So if you want to become a teacher in the sporting field, and MSc in clinical exercise physiology is just like biomechanics. It's also an upcoming course. It's an upcoming course in India. I would say. I think your college Savita has introduced biomechanics and clinical exercise physiologies. Some of my friends who are actually planning to pursue it in Savita College, and because largely it was in abroad, clinical exercise physiology. Even I was planning down to travel to Australia or move to a country like that, but right now it is shut because of the COVID. So this is another course where you will have to, what do you do in clinical exercise physiology? So I've done the testing and stuff in my college during the internship. So you will have athletes coming to you. You will have to test it. We say the VO2 max testing, the oxygen level for an athlete. So if an athlete is running at a 100-meter sprint, we would say this is the amount of maximum volume of oxygen, and he has the potential to even push himself more. Suppose he's been pushing the 100 meters only for, suppose you say 60%, but when you do the VO2 max testing, it would have showed you 80 or 85% on the lab while doing the testing. So we can push him more while running on field. And there's and then we have the they say biodex testing. So kinetic testing we say. So suppose an athlete comes after an injury. So an athlete is coming to me after an injury, being a sports scientist, you can check how much strength they have in their muscles. If they're coming post-surgery, after a few months, they have an ACL tear, or ACL tear is in the sense, you have to the kids, we have a ligament in the knee. So if that tears and they do a surgery and come back, to go before on field, you will have to do this testing to the athletes if the strength of the muscle, of the strength of the ligament is good enough. So these are the kind of testing, VO2 max, biodex testing are the one of the testings that we actually do in exercise physiology. But exercise physiology itself is a very huge field, and there's a lot to study, I would say, in exercise physiology in that, and it's a very nice and interesting course, I would say. MSc in kinesiology, like BSc in kinesiology, MSc in kinesiology. MSc in kinesiology, we still don't have it in India. We'll have to fly abroad or take the course online. And I would also say you can do biochemistry. What is biochemistry? So I know an Olympian. She's a swimmer, Shikha Tandon, and she's in US right now. She did BSc biochemistry, and then she did MSc biochemistry, and now she's working with the World Anti-Doping Agency. So WADA and NADA. So anti-doping is something kids. If I swim, if I race, if I win the championship, there will be a committee where they will come and test my urine sample to check if I have had any kind of external substance to enhance my performance. So this is a general protocol which has been followed in the national or the international championships, where they will, if I win the tournament, or they can do it randomly, even when I'm in a camp, they can come and check if the athletes is fine. So this is a committee or an organization where they promote and advise people to not to have any kind of substances to enhance your performance. This is a very, I would say it's a very different environment to work with them. So World Anti-Doping and NADA is an Indian National Anti-Doping Agency. So to be part of those kind of organizations, or to pursue yourself in research field and to more into nutrition and very minor level of nutrition, so biochemistry is one of the best to pursue, I would say. And even you can do biochemistry as your undergraduation and pursue nutrition in your post graduation, because biochemistry is it's all interrelated, I would say. And you can do sports management. So there's something called sports law now we have. You can pursue BABL and you can go on to do sports law. And there's a senior of mine, she's studying in Europe. She's doing ethics and laws about sports, where you will learn in the 2 year span. So you can travel 4 to 5 countries in Europe. In the 2 year span, you will learn all the, so now in swimming, we say the FINA, it's the, it's the FINA as a governing body, and where it puts the rules and regulation structures like BCCI or ICCI. That's how it is. So you're going to learn all the laws of each different sport, and you can work with any committee when you come out, any organization when you come out. This is very one peculiar course I've come across, sports laws and ethics. And PhD, you can go on to do these courses and you can apply for PhD, do a research, and become a don in that field, I would say. And then sports medicine is doing MBBS and going on to pursuing sports medicine to be in a sporting career. But all this can happen, but you should also keep playing the sport. I would say once you do the UG or PG, you don't get to quit the sport, or you don't get to stop the sport because you don't have time. That doesn't happen. We have to try to balance ourselves to pursue in both. So these are the other options. So these are the courses what you can do, and these are the actually what you become in the end. So sports and exercise scientist, biomechanist. After you do MSc in biomechanics, we can also become a sports analyst. You know, sports analyst, when you do the cricket, we would have seen the analysis going down. By the end of 50th over, we are targeting this much runs. So all the tactics and technicals on field. So if I'm going to a race before the competition, there's going to be a sports analyst who's coming and telling me, oh, the opponent is very crucial at this part of the race. Her turn is very good. Her start is very good. This is an advantage for you. You can use all these weaknesses of her, and then you can try to manage to become good. So these are the aspects where a sports analyst would help us to do it. But you need to know the sport really well. If you want to become a sports analyst in cricket, you'll have to know the sport well. Football, kabaddi, swimming, all are there. Kinesiology, after pursuing MSc in kinesiology. Kinesiology is nothing but a sports science. It's just sports science, I would say, a little more clinical than sports science. But it's more of human science, I would say, because if you do kinesiology, you also get a chance to work in a clinical setup. Like you can become a cardiac rehab person. So now an athlete is going to some kind of a serious complications and they do some surgery, like the recreational athletes. So you can become a cardiac rehab, or the intellectually disabled kids, physically challenged kids, working with them is a role played by the kinesiologist. You can choose a field to do in sport, or you can choose to go in the clinical aspect and work in hospitals. Sports nutritionists, sports psychologists, sports journalists. We have sports anchors now. I have a few friends of mine. They've been doing sport and they become sports anchors, anchoring for the badminton league, kabaddi league. All this is another option for you if you're very good in talking. Strength and conditioning coach, like I said, the Indian team or any team has a strength and conditioner now. And coach specialization. So what I would say as a coach specialization in sense, so now even if I do sports science, I can become a sports and exercise scientist in swimming. So now I know swimming for so many years, right? Now when I do the sports science course, it actually helps me. See, now I have a 40% knowledge in the sport swimming before pursuing the course. But now when I do sports and exercise science, it helps me so much that I understand what are the science behind for me to perform or help another person to excel in the sport. So when I coaching technique is fine, but we know the science behind how much and the technical aspect we know, and then we study anatomy, physiology about the sport. We study so much about the nutrition, psychology for an athlete. So you can also coach, being a sports scientist, and if you're really good at sport or tennis, you can become a coach, specialize yourself in that. And another option to work in India, you can work in Sports Authority of India. They are recruiting people now. Work in university teams, leagues like PBL, IPL, Kabaddi leagues. We have the football leagues happening now. Another option, you can become teaching assistants. You can get into the field of research. There are a lot of research they're doing in sports science and sports medicine on day-to-day basis. So that's another opportunity. And so then 6 ways to, so this is something I wanted to talk about. So now we talk about long-term athletic development, like how a kid has to, in a long run, how it has to develop at different stages, doing different things. There's also an interrelated topic called sports specialization, or a individual specializing themselves. So according to the American College of Sports Medicine, what they say is that never specialize a kid. See, now I was specialized, I was a swimmer and I'm a backstroker at the age of 10 or 12. So that is totally wrong, You should not tell a kid, or you should not specialize a kid before the age of 13 or 14. The kid has to learn and play a lot of sports and other activities, co-curricular activities, till the age of 13 or 14. By when they are turning 16, 16 only, they should decide even that I want to pursue this sport full time. Until then, when they're 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 or 12, all this time they have to try and do different sport. They can do skating and swimming, playing squash and playing golf. This is the time to explore. When you, by the time when basically when they are in 12th or the 11th is the actual time, they should actually decide what's the next thing they want to do. When they go into college, that's the time the sport has to become full time. But whereas in India, or particularly in the state Tamil Nadu, people drop out. After 12, when you get into college, people drop out of the sport, even what they've been doing for so many years. So that's a major thing which is happening. So we need to learn a lot of skills. So according to the American College of Sports Medicine, they say never specialize. The first point, they should only train for 18 to 20 hours in a week, even if they're doing a sport. Even if you want your kid, or the kid wants to become the best in the sport, not more than 18 to 20 hours. But we don't do that. We practice for 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the evening, 6 times a day. That's what's happening right now. And only 1.5 hours in a day they'll have to do the sport, maximum 3 weeks. And 2 to 3 days off, and they should have 3 months break in a year. All rounded, they should have 3 months break. And when they, until the age of 14 or 15, even if they're playing different sport, the form and technique has to be the main goal. Not the winning shouldn't become the main goal for them. Because when they are 13 and 14 at the time, they also hit puberty. So we don't have to actually train them. With the hormone release they have in the system, naturally the kids or the children will eventually perform better. Even if you just teach the right technique and form, they will do the best. We don't have to force them, we don't have to push them to come on to the top. You teach the form and technique, they will be the best. So don't focus on winning and winning. Even there must be some athletes in the school. Definitely there'll be some athletes in the school who's been playing sports, or even a dance or a musician. Don't force yourself, learn. This is the time to learn. Even if you do mistakes here and there, it's fine. And then, so we need skillful India. So I was telling Lakshmi ma'am yesterday, so we need skillful India. Learn a lot of stuff. We need to learn to do welding, carpenting. I saw a video from the school where the kids are carpenting. So I don't know to do carpenting. So we should develop a lot of skills. It's not just about studying, now I came across Debu yesterday, a lady, she's the best sari dropper from India, it seems. I don't know to drop a sari, or I don't know to put rangoli. I don't know, and sometime in future they would say I'm the national champion of the rangoli competition. So we need to learn more skills, learn a lot of skills. Nobody knows even I didn't believe that sari dropping would become like the best sari dropper from India. So it's becoming very technical. It's not just the education is enough for us. We need to learn a lot of other new skills. So this is the time to learn and make mistakes and keep trying. So for me, I'm just giving a small example. So I know to swim. So because of swimming, it helped me to do surfing. To do surfing better, I started doing skateboarding. So I pursue a lot of skateboarding on field. So to get the rhythm surfing, so they're actually similar. See, I'm learning another new skill. Because I'm good at balancing, surfing and stand-up paddling are correlated events. So I could also stand-up paddle. These are all interlinked. When you learn a new skill, it's going to help to develop your cognitive or your motor skills or the movement patterns. So learn more stuff. There's a swimmer of mine who does breakdancing to increase flexibility, and he's a swimmer. So everything is going to help you. Nothing goes waste. Learning will always keep enhancing yourself. And for the kids, so you're all at home. I hope you're all being little physical, but what are the other basic stuff as an athlete? I would say you can skipping. If you have bags at home, put a lot of. So I did this last summer when I was in India. So I used to put water bottles, dump with a lot of Bible-like books in the bag, and I used to climb up and down in my apartment almost 30 times. My apartment is 5 floors, so I used to climb up and down for the next 45 minutes. It's a good cardio. And lifting buckets, help mommy whenever she's lifting buckets, lift buckets, water cans. Don't tell me I'm too young. You're all very strong to do it. Do some flexibility exercises, close your eyes and balance. There's a lot of balancing exercises you can do, fun games you can, breathing exercises. And now it's very, very important being at this situation during the pandemic. Do a lot of breathing exercise and have a routine to yourself. I know you're all attending school online, but still wake up in the morning by 6, shower, meditate for some time, do a basic routine, do some 10 cycles of Surya Namaskar. All the Surya Namaskar is from India, so it's all what we do, what the Western people are doing right now. Do Surya Namaskar from the 10 times. Trust me, Surya Namaskar is one of the best warming up exercise for a professional athlete. I've been doing it and I know people doing it. So it does help. Surya Namaskar is the best, I would say. And so nutritious food, eat healthy. Dieting doesn't work, as I think there's a lot of teens and adolescents is also listening to it. Dieting doesn't work, or skipping meals doesn't work. A whole balanced meal, which is we need right now to be healthy. Lot of water, sit outside and get some vitamin D for yourself. Have all the boosting foods, eat a lot of fruits. Now, so they made a habit when I was a kid to eat 3 fruits in a day. Even now I follow. So I make sure that I eat apple, watermelon, or mango, or apple, watermelon, or guava. Something happens. Sometimes I do skip to eat, but they make sure my parents, they put me back in the night and they make me to eat. So try and eat 3 fruits in a day, which will actually help you, and it will become a habit over a period of time. Must green leafy vegetable. Drink a lot of milk. If there's a lactose intolerance, it's okay, it's fine. But milk is very, very important for a teen or a sports person, for anybody, I would say. So milk is must, I would say, in my diet for anybody. And consume whole fruit in a day. Girls eat a lot of iron. We need a lot of iron. So green leafy vegetables is one place where we get a lot of iron from. Avoid junk. I don't know how long it's been. I've been into KFC or McDonald's. So avoid junk, Coke and Pepsi. It should be like, if somebody gives me a Coke and Pepsi, I will be like, why is this person even drinking a poisonous food? So it's become that kind of a mindset to myself. I think that's how the mindset should become to every single person. It's all these are totally unhealthy. Cola, all this should be out of our food. Okay, mental wellness. I always share my stuffs to my parents and teachers. If I have a problem, I reach out to my coach. If I have a problem in the math class, I go to the math teacher. She's not helping, I'll go to another teacher for help. So this is how it is going to work. We need teachers' help, and we also need to share our stuffs to parents. You have anything, we need to share, and we even now, there's nothing without sharing that I can decide. We need to share and discuss with the parents, whatever it is. It might be anything, even let it be anything. It has to be shared with your parents, and I still follow that. And so being a tomboy, how I managed focusing. So till 12th, I didn't have long hair. I was full in boy cut. And I used to be the tomboy in school. And, people used to call me, hey, where's the guy going around? All this used to be there, but it was fun. So there was no any bullying happening or any kind of an environment I came up. But tomboy actually helped me a lot, in the beginning I didn't like, but why they're making me to do the haircut, all this was going in my mind, but it's all good. I was focused. I never watched TV for from 9th till 12th grade. Now I don't even have TV here. Even in India, if I have TV, it's just staying there. So I don't even watch TV. I don't watch much movies. Now with the pandemic, I don't. There's nothing called theaters actually going in mind. So it's fine. It's fine. It's not. People say, "Why are you being so unusual?" They asked me, "Have you not watched the Marvel?" I was like, "What's Marvel?" So it's okay. It's fine if you're like that. But we also need a social life. Kids also need social life, but the social life can come through friends. We don't have to watch TV or go to a theater or go to a mall with friends to get your social life. So it's fine. So it's okay if people are like that. If your parents are saying don't watch TV, it's fine. If you want to be at the top, it's okay to not watch TV. So it's cool. Being dark and okay, so this is another thing what usually people ask me. So when I started surfing in particularly, so any interview or anybody, they say, or my friends, and even my very closest friends or even my parents, they ask, you're getting dark, you're getting tanned, you need to do something about it, put some sunscreen. My dad's even worried now. It's like, can you put some sunscreen before getting inside? So all this keeps going, at some point I forget to put sunscreen, I just go surf. So what I have in my mind, what I personally have is, when I become a champion of a tournament, they say Vilasni is a champion of the event. They're not going to tell me the tanned girl or the dark-skinned girl is walking down there. They're going to look me as a champion. So getting dark, or for me, it's getting dark. I think each person will have a different excuse or a different thing. All this just is an external factor, you have something big and right in front of you, have the crown in front of you, you should be running towards the crown, not thinking about getting dark. And all this is just the external factors: skin getting hurt, falling, getting stitches, everything we can do. We have laparoscopy, and even if you fall while skating or you get hit, we have the sponsors to come forward. If you do the best, they are going to fix you, so you don't have to worry about all this. Being dark, being all this is fine. But I would say now they talk about body shaming, but they also say being fat is also okay now. I wouldn't say okay. We need to be healthy. You can be fat, but you should be able to climb 10 staircases. There are athletes who are very hefty and weight and strong. You should be able to lift yourself. You should be able to run 5 kilometers. You should be able to help your parents at home lifting buckets and water cans. You should be like that. It is okay to be fat. It is okay to be heavy. All that you have to be is fit. So now the new concept is, I'm not trying to be skinny or I'm not trying to be fat. I'm trying to be strong. You need to be strong and fit and healthy. That's what we need to have in mind. Okay, sleeping on time, it's must. Even now, 10:30, I go to sleep. Sometimes here and there I sleep late, but it becomes a mess for me next day in the morning. We need to sleep on time, stay without gadgets, talk to your parents, talk to your siblings, talk to your grannies, and then go to sleep. Being on the phone, going to sleep, it's very bad. Even I do it, but let's try and avoid it. And sleep helps to perform you very much better in your day-to-day activities also. Goal setting, kids, we all need to do goal setting. Even now, I write down in my notes what I want to do. And then if you want to achieve something, try. If you want to score 100 in math, put 100 in maths in a huge chart paper, write it down by yourself and believe in it that I will do it. Okay, just believe that you will do it, and put it in right in front of you in your house. I used to do that right in front of my bed. I just used to write #1 in India, #1 surfing champion in India. 2019 national championship is S. Vilasni. I used to just write it down, every day you see it. By the time when even if you're not working towards it, 1 month, 2 months, third month, you will start working for it and you will reflect on it and it will happen. It did for me and it will work for you. Trust me. So the law of reflection plays a major role for us. So put a short-term goal. Let me first get 80 in the internals and then aim for 100 in the boards. Put a goal, put a short-term goal. Okay, people who are not scoring well, even if you're failing, it's okay. If you're scoring 25 now, put a goal that I will score 30 next test. That's your progression. That's how the progression has to go. It's okay to fail, no problem. I took 33 right. I scored 33 right before my boards, before going to the boards, 33. And my economics ma'am gave me a huge 0 in the paper and she sent me. It's okay. They tried to help me. But even I scored the next exam 5 marks, I think, the next division. It was a bonus to me. That's what I was hoping and went on the boards, but I did goods in boards. So it's fine. For the people who are not scoring less, I wouldn't say not scoring well. Scoring well, it's okay. You will score, but you need to try and you need to study. Nothing will happen on its own. It's not a magic. And consistency. You want to wake up every day at 6 a.m. 21 days mantra. You will read in all the books and newspaper, and everybody saying it does actually work. Yoga, they taught me when I was 15 in my house, but I do it on and off, on and off. Whenever there's a championship, I do it and then I quit. But I made sure this 6 months in my life, first I tried for 21 days and it became a habit. Now, I learned it 10 years ago, but for the last 7 months, I've not missed a day. Today, I still haven't done, but after this meeting, before breakfast, I'm going to do yoga for myself. So it's a 30 minutes where I do breathing exercise and do a few stuff to myself. So it does become a habit. Trust me, if you want to do something, try this 21 days mantra. It will work. Okay. Now I'm going to say, I don't know if people are listening to me. I'm going to test everyone, the teachers as well. So I'm going to tell a very small a story, okay? So it's about a very big athlete and she's an Olympian, okay? Her name is Melina Robertson and she's a discus player. Have you heard of discus? They throw the plate like that. There's a huge plate and then you will have to throw it. So she's a discus player and she's a France player. So in the end of the story, you will know why I'm trying to tell this. So she's a very big athlete and then she's got qualified for the Sydney Olympics in 2000, okay? And then she goes to the championship and then she throws the discus, but the discus doesn't go far away. It just spins around and then it falls right close to her. And then she ranked in Sydney in 2000 Olympics, she ranked 29th, okay? And then what she did, she trained again hard and then she went on to 2004 Athens Olympics and then she played, she came again 38th position, 3-0. What she did, she went on, trained again, she came back to the Beijing Olympics and then in 2008, she came 8th. From 38th, she came back to the Earth position. She didn't stop there. She went back to the London Olympics in 2012 and then she came first, you think? No, she came 5th. She came 5th again in 2012 Olympics. It didn't stop her. She went back, she trained for the 4 years and she came back in 2016 Rio Olympics and she came 2nd. She didn't come first. Even then, she didn't come first. She came 2nd, But how many years she put herself into the sport and how many years she didn't give up and went on to Olympics. Now, can somebody give me an answer? How many Olympics she went to? I want from the speakers from the audience, if Lakshmi ma'am or somebody could say how many Olympics she quickly went on to. Let me try and open the chat box. Ma'am, is somebody answering?
They are answering. Yeah.
How
So
many?
children
5.
are answering.
I could see 3 to 5. Okay, I'm going to tell you the answer now. She went on to 5 Olympics from Sydney till Rio. She's almost invested herself for 20 years in Olympics itself. I don't know how long I don't know how old is she, but even before that, for 2020 Sydney Olympics, should have trained for so many years, almost for 10 years should have put on. So this is the amount of consistency and this is the amount of persistence she's had in herself. She would have thought, okay, the 38th, 8th, 5th, and dropped out from the sport. She could have gone. No. When I saw the video of her, I fell in tears. Even now, if I want to push myself, not many people know about her. We know Sachin Tendulkar, we know Leander Paes, we know Michael Phelps. But this athletes keeps motivating me. Melina Robertson from France. If you have any Olympic video on YouTube, I tried downloading, but I couldn't. It doesn't allow. She's an athlete. So this is amount of persistence and the amount we need to try hard for ourselves. So the few mantras, dream limitless. Michael Phelps says, dream limitless. There's no limits to dream. It's okay. And this is my mom says in Tamil, Attanikum asepadu. It's fine. It's fine. You can wish for everything and anything, no matter what. But we need to try, but it shouldn't turn to be a greedy. Let it not turn to be greedy. I was walking past Delhi and then I was asking, Amma, can I become the president of India? She's like, yes, you will. Who knows? You can become the sports minister of India. So she gave me all these very ideas. She's even surfing. That's how it happened. She's like, Amma, I'm going to surf. Who knows? You can become the national champion and go to international events. I was like, I'm swimming. I can't do too many things. So it's okay. Wish and dream. It's fine. No problem. So great things happen to people. Great things happen to those who constantly keeps believing, trying, learning is very important. And of course, you will have to be grateful. If you're grateful, you will go places. That's what I believe. And then thank you so much. I'm done. Mom, any questions, anything? And I hope I wasn't boring to the kids.
Not at all, not at all. I think we have our children. They will definitely ask you a few questions. Children?
Can I close the PPT?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Ma'am, should I show the video of surfing if they want?
Yeah, ma'am.
Definitely.
Please.
Yes. So there is an S from there.
Yes, ma'am, please.
So you can just close
Yes,
the
ma'am.
stop
Yeah.
sharing and then.
Yeah. Stop sharing now. 1 second. 2 minutes. I'm going to quickly do it. Stop sharing. Optimize motion video. So that's the video of me surfing. Can you hear?
Yes,
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
ma'am.
That's the video. And then I'll quickly show what is stand-up paddling. Not many people will know what is stand-up paddling. So this is stand-up paddling. So surfing, we usually do it on a small boat. The boat is only for 6 feet and below. When you learn, you will do in 10 and 9 feet boat. When you start doing it professionally, both sides would keep going down. But this is something called stand-up paddle. This board itself is 14 feet, and then you will have to stand and you will have a stick-like paddle, and then you have to keep paddling. So this was a race in our Bay of Bengal in Kovalam. I was racing 10 kilometers race. So it's a race in the ocean. You will have to paddle for 10 kilometers non-stop. And I had another, see, this is in Marina. Usually they don't let us to do it in Marina, but I had the Sailendra Babu sir is the OC coastal department. So I personally, he was in coastal and he was encouraging water sport athletes, and he encourages a lot of swimmers. So I got his permission once, and I was training at the Marina Beach. This is at Marina. And yeah, we're done. And that's some of my medals. There's another picture on the desktop I can show you. So that's my medal and me. This was taken a few years ago for an article. Done.
That was really awesome. I think, children definitely would be inspired by seeing all your achievements. Yes,
Excuse
children,
me.
do you have any questions?
Look at that expression
Mom, I
on
don't.
Akhil's face, no? Akhil, what is that expression on your face? Can you put it in words?
No,
Like, no words, no?
My eyes actually popped out seeing how many medals she got.
Good. Okay. Yes, somebody started asking the question. I'm sorry.
Mom, actually,
Priya
that was not a
Rajan,
question.
Okay.
That was not a question. I was actually inspired by the story what Vilasni mom said. Actually, my aim is to become a pilot. I used to often think about how a pilot should be, and I'm actually scared of heights and swimming. Actually, after seeing Vilasni mom, I thought if I could swim, maybe I will get because of diving, maybe I'll forget the heights. I'll not get scared of the heights. That was a very inspiring story, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions?
I think Diya Rajan is asking some questions. Would you want to come on video and ask your questions, Diya?
Ma'am, I wanted to ask, how do you balance your day?
Now we don't have any competitions. Otherwise, when I used to be a school student, it used to be a very long day, starting from 4:30 in the morning. So I used to go to swim classes by 5:30. 4:30 used to be my wake up. 5 till 8 swim, then eat everything, shower quickly. I never had idli or dosa. My mom used to give this ragi porridge. தமிழ்ல சொன்னா கஞ்சி சொல்லுவோம்ல சத்துமாவு கஞ்சி இதுதான். For the last 10-15 years, it's been my breakfast, and it's become a habit now. If I eat idli or dosa, I'll go straight away, go to class and sleep in the school. So I used to have a light nutritious breakfast.
I have a doubt, ma'am.
Yeah.
While you are surfing, how do you balance, ma'am? Because for me, it took like approximately 5 years to balance on my cycle. How are you balancing on this surf? How do you balance over there?
Yeah. So I'll just finish there. So there, it's a hectic day. I'll go to school, try and do the homework in school, come back, train in the evening, study back in the car, go home, eat and sleep. That's how my routine. By chance, if I miss a swim session, my coach will give me punishment and ask me to run 100 rounds. So this is all part of life. If I miss a session, my coach will ask. If I don't do well, there's another social teacher. She'll ask why she's going 92 instead of 100. She'll ask for the 8 marks. I'll be like, what is going to be with the 8 marks? So it's all that. It's hats off to the teachers who all pushed me. So Akhil, how do we practice now? They say dynamo motion, water is pushing you from behind. When you have something to push you, it's a little physics. I'm not good at physics, but so when the force pushes you, you will have a velocity of movement which is actually helping you to actually balance. When you are in a cycle, if you stand in the same place, can you balance? No, right? Only if you start cycling with the motion, you will be able to balance. same way. I can't stand in the same place. There should be a force to help me to, the waves force is helping me to balance actually. And it'll, if you train enough, you'll get it. Like you'll have to keep falling, and falling on ground is very hard while cycling, but falling in the water is much better. It doesn't hurt you.
Okay, ma'am.
Hi. There is
Yes, Raksha. Raksha, you can ask.
Aren't you scared of falling?
falling. No, it's nothing to get scared of. You will initially for some time, but you'll get used to it. That's it. It's initially what something if you do, it's like surfing is like riding on roller coaster, Kanna. If you've been to roller coasters, the one in amusement parks, I don't know how many years before you all went. It's just like that. You'll have all that tingling sensations in your tummy when you start doing it. Even now, if I do it sometimes, because it's an adventure sport, we are not in a constant environment. The waves is different, the wind is different, you're going to fall. So it's a very good feel. How you feel when riding a cycle fast is the same way. So it's a, you should all try if you know swimming. Anything else, ma'am?
Yeah, I
Shreya?
think a few more. Yeah.
Shreya, you're not audible.
Ma'am, how far do you go while surfing in the sea? How far do you go in the sea?
How far?
How far do you go in the
Yeah.
sea?
See, Kana, while surfing, we don't go deep inside. There's two different, in surfing itself, we have two categories. One is wave surfing, one is stand-up paddling board. So for surfing, you'll have to be in a place where there's more waves. So waves are usually on the shore, a little like 200 meters, 300 meters on the shore. But the stand-up paddling race, we go like 15, 20 kilometers inside the ocean. You have to paddle inside the ocean. So the races are like how we put a marathon course in the city, they'll put a course in the ocean.
How do you know from which side the wave comes? Before you surf, you should know, ma'am, which side the wave, from which side the wind is and which side the wave comes from.
Ah, good question. So we will know. So in Bay of Bengal, the waves is always positive, we say. Positive means it goes from here on my right. On Bay of Bengal, the waves are always towards your right. So the wave itself, if you go to very night, it'll break on your right. But if you go to some spots in the Western Ghats, because it was an Arabian Sea, it goes on your left. If you go and stand, if you're facing the shore, I'm in the ocean now. If you're facing the shore means the waves will go on my right, the Bay of Bengal. Because the water is flowing that way. By chance, even if the current goes in the opposite direction, still the waves will go in the right.
Ma'am, like sometimes waves will also change the direction by some heavy wind and all. Ma'am. So in the middle of surfing,
Waves will not change. The water flow will change.
the water flow, sorry. So while in the middle of surfing, how will you manage it, ma'am?
You will get
When the
used to it. When you train, no, so we put a lot of hours in training, right? So we will know if you're working for, if I'm training, suppose every day we'll have different forecasts, okay? We need to keep checking the app. What's the forecast? What's the wind level? So we train in different forecasts and we get used to it. But it's anyway unpredictable. It's all in what we get reported in some news or other news channels. We can't predict the weather. We can only assume it's going to be like that. But when you go and experience it, you will actually know. It's all just rough calculations here and there. And then after calculations, you will get used to it, and then you will do it with that. We had this forecast the other day, so this is the forecast now. That's how we do it.
Mom, is surfing allowed in heavy rains?
During cyclones, we don't, but there are boys, very strong boys, they surf during the cyclones. But you can surf during rain. If it's a normal rain, even I surf. It's actually nice to surf when it's raining, so it's very good. But only during heavy storm, cyclone, you can, but it's very tiring. It's like going against the wave and the storm and the wind. Very tiring. But there are the boys, the senior boys, they go and have fun because they have more tickets. Huh?
Okay. It's actually dangerous, no, ma'am.
See that any adventure sport you take it, it's dangerous. If you think if it's dangerous, any adventure sport, it is dangerous.
Walking on the road is also dangerous today, Akhil. Yes, Akshay, you've been trying to ask.
For the first time, ma'am.
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
When you started surfing for the first time.
Akshay. When did I start surfing?
First. When did you start surfing first is a question. Ashita.
12th grade, 2000.
Start surfing.
13 or 12, I vaguely remember because I went after a competition, but my first competition was in 2015. I was doing here and there, taking break, coming back, doing surfing and school.
Ma'am, have you faced any sharks or sea creatures while surfing?
Good question. We don't have sharks. They say they don't know. The boys from surfing is a sport. See, now if you go to a swimming pool or a badminton court, you should just have 1 or 2 friends there, and then you will go do the sport. You have to know the coach. But surfing is a community. You can't do that. Any country you go, you should be in good terms with the locals. Locals means அங்க இருக்க ஆளுங்களோட நம்ம வந்து friendly-ஆ இருக்கணும் because they know the best about the ocean. The ocean keeps changing every hour. So you need to have a good relationship with the locals and good relationship with them. So these locals sometimes they say, I saw shark early in the morning before you came to surfing. All this they will scare you. But we see a lot of dolphins. When I go for stand-up paddling, we get to see a lot of dolphins, and even when we surf, sometimes the dolphin surfs along with us. Yeah.
Mom, in which place you saw, Mom? Dolphins.
In Chennai, you go to the beach and sit one day, evening you might see dolphins. Or you go every day evening running in the beach, you will see dolphins. Dolphins, there are a lot of dolphins in Bay of Bengal. Like 300, 400 dolphins together, they'll go in one shot. If you see 1 or 2 on the top, there must be like 300, 400 underneath going actually. And they treat it as a gods in the oceans. People don't eat dolphins and all. They eat fish and other stuff, but you don't get to see people fishing or hunting dolphins because they treat it as good as a god in the community. And it is like a god in the water.
Mom, has anything like any bigger fish like dolphins has hit your surfboard sometime?
I have it's once hit while doing the stand-up paddle. Then I realized there's something going underneath, and I knew I'm going to lose my balance and fall. So I immediately sit down on the board. I quickly sit. So they cross and then I stand.
Exactly. Can we wait one at a time? Can we wait till Ms. Vilasini completes the answer, children? I know you're excited, but I think we can wait.
Next one. So it is fine. You will experience all that, and yeah, I'll quickly sit down on the board.
Ezan, you were asking something. Ezan.
And who was that friend who always supported you in your career?
There's a lot of friends, lot of people, you know. I had math phobia. I used to fail in math, and my math teacher used to keep failing me. Mathophobia, keeping exams. But I had a similar version of myself, mathophobia. The principal has to make sure that we both come and sit down in the class and write. I used to tell her, ma'am, I don't know anything in the paper. No, it's okay. You read the paper and write the paper's answers. But you know it. Even I'm telling you, kids, even if you by chance you fell sick or something happened and you don't know anything in the exam, still go and attend the exam. You know, so my teachers, what they did in 12th, because I went on to my revisions and I just used to read my economics paper. I'll answer only one answer, 7 mark, 5 mark, the CBSE, 5 marks answer. I would have answered only 5. But you know, the 2 hours, I would have read all the questions 10 times again. Now, when I study for the next exam, when I study the chapter, I know what question they'll ask in the exam because I know what kind of a question they'll ask me in the next exam from that particular chapter. Go and attend. Only if you go and attend, what kind of questions they will ask you, you will know. And it helped me a lot to prepare well boards. So now when you open the book, you will not know, okay, I'm reading this, reading that. But imagine you have what kind of a question they're going to ask. It will go in your mind when you go back and read. So it will actually help you. First attend. Even if it's okay, I have a biggest fear of failure. I shouldn't get less score. But you know, in 12th, all my teachers made sure that I score only less. to get a good score in sports. So
What motivated you to start surfing?
it's just fun. The sport itself is lovely. It's just happened like that. I would say it's a very lovely sport because you're always like your school. How you're always connected with the eco-friendly system. You're always around the environment. It's not in a constant environment. Swimming used to be just up and down, monotonous process. I felt like, but this is so much fun. I don't even consider anybody to be my competitors. The ocean is my competitor, and I have to master the waves and I'll be on the top. So there's a lot of friends who help me. So Mathophobia is one friend of mine. Her name is Gautami. So both of us used to sit together, somehow managed to pass in the boats. So that's how there's a lot of people who come across.
Yaren's supposed to say mathophobia in front of Doll ma'am because she's a math teacher.
You can. It's okay, Akhil. You can.
Yeah.
Yes, Daksha, Vilasni, 1 second. Little Daksha wants to ask something. Yes, Daksha.
How far wearing spectacles affects surfing?
How far?
Spectacles, specs. Wearing a specs. She's wearing glasses, no?
It's fine. If you can, you're not going to. I don't know. See, inside the water is fine. This question is good. I'll figure out. So maybe to see very far, you need to judge waves from very far distance. You need to see. Even if I have proper eyes, like not proper eyes, even if I have a good vision, I sometimes find it hard. But I think the closer it should be easy. I'll ask my friends who actually wear glasses and surf, and I will let Dolly ma'am or Lakshmi ma'am know about you, and I'll ask them to get back to you. Good questions, huh?
Sudarshini Vijay Kumar has actually posted an article. I think this is about you. So which they have read in the Hindu.
Yeah, sometime back, I think. Last year, it came last year.
Yes, so I think there is a link, children. You can click on the link to read more about her. And also, she had the question. There is one question: where would you practice surfing? Is the question which is asked.
So it's another good question. So in Chennai, we don't have approval to do it in Marina, though we have a huge coast and the water is little dirty. I'm so sorry to say, because the Buckingham Canal coming and connecting to the ocean, the water is little dirty. But further the south towards the coastal, Kolam is the first spot in Asia. And then Mahabalipuram, Pondicherry, Rameswaram. Down the list, we have a lot of spots. You need a spot. You can't go and surf all the beaches. We need to have a peculiar kind of wave where it's like a sweeping ramp. You would have seen the ramp. It will be like this archy stuff. So the waves in those spots come like that. So in Kolam and Mahabs and all, we have the rocks, so which will create that kind of a wave there. In Marina and all, we don't have rocks underneath. So we say it's a point break because the rocks there, any beach, if you go and they have rocks, it must be having a good surfing spot. So it's like that. So each spot is peculiar.
This might be a silly question, ma'am, but how many times have you got sick by getting inside the water?
I didn't get you. Zit? Like excited. Sick.
You felt ill by getting inside the water.
And I've always been a water baby since kids. I never fell ill by getting into the water. So I've always used 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the evening. Now when I surf from 6:30 to 11:30, I'll be training. I'll come have 9:30 breakfast and I go and sit back. Last summer in the lockdown, I couldn't sit at home in the hot sun. I wanted the ocean or some swimming pool to stay inside. So it's like that. So I'm used to it. So I never felt sick.
Ma'am, you said in the stand-up paddling, you had to go 15 to 25 kilometer inside. So have you lost in the sea, and what was your very unforgettable and very chilling experience?
There is incidents like that. When I started, there was no wind. It was absolutely fine, a normal forecast. Then I paddled for 5 kilometers and I wanted to do 10 that day. And there's another sea, the two of them is very fast. After 5 kilometers, there's a heavy wind and deep inside the ocean, heavy rainfall. I couldn't get back. I have to go back 5 kilometers. I'm not moving on. This was the time I actually personally experienced. I sat on the board and I was almost going to go in tears because I'm paddling and I'm not moving because the wind is opposite to me. I'm thinking if I should just drop to the shore, but I can't go in the spot where I can't go to the shore because it's full rocks on the shore. And there's a senior of mine is struggling inside, but is going in front of me. Only if he goes ahead of me, he can go something and send someone to help me. So my dad was all prepared to rescue me, sitting in car. I think my daughter will land any side on the ECR. She will slowly come down with the boat. I know to swim, but I have an expensive boat. The boat costs us 2-3 lakhs, and I have a paddle, which is another 40,000. I can't leave the boat and paddle inside the ocean and swim down. The swim is easy. Even if it's just rock, somehow you can swim and come out. But with the boat and paddle, it was a tough day. Sometimes that was a time where even if you are a champion, you're still under the control because of the nature. Even if you master, the nature can give you a hard time. So, so that's there. So there are incidents like that. To knock you and to knock you down, you still have to grow.
Ma'am, how did you come out of that situation?
Then I kept paddling. Then what I did, I started lying down on the boat and I started paddling. And then after a point, I had hopes the wind slowly subsidized. And I went on to the shore. They were senior and my dad all waiting, and it was fine. But to reach a spot in 30 minutes, I took more than an hour to reach to get back. So yeah, it doesn't happen.
Ma'am, how do you plan your diet before and after surfing, ma'am?
Good. Before surfing, it's very different. While swimming, I used to have some badam milkshake, porridge, milk, or all of this I used to do. But surfing, it makes actually hungry. I used to eat a solid breakfast, like a little bit of idli or a little bit of bread and jam, because the moment you go 45 minutes, you'll start feeling hungry because of the waves. So you need to have something little solid before 30 minutes getting inside the water. But for another, if you're doing any other sport, it's fine, ma'am. It's fine to have some liquid form, maybe a little egg, porridge, a banana milkshake, or something like that you can eat. But make sure you all should eat 3 fruits in a day. 3 fruits. Morning 2 fruits and evening 1 fruit during the snack. 3 fruits in a day.
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Done.
Thank you so much. I think children, are there any other questions? I think they are very, very excited.
Or any parents or anybody wants to
I am interested in Kovlong Point Surf School. It's the closest, I think. Any other recommendation? Is the question?
Yeah. I think the Kovlong Point Surf School is named as the Surf Turf. I've been there. It's the Surf Turf India. It's one of the best places to go and learn. And in general, the village has few more other surf schools. Everybody is brilliant and everybody is from this generation. And you get in touch with any surfers there. They're good at teaching. Ma'am, anything you, Dolly ma'am, Leslie ma'am, anything wants to ask?
One more question. Akshaya normally is very vocal, but today I think she's having some network issue. Akshaya is asking, how do you sustain your love for surfing as you started from the age of 13 and 14 or 14 and you're still a surfer? Don't you get bored? Oh, that's amazing. This is something which I think you should address them, because to sustain their interest in anything,
so for me,
they expect immediate
monotonous. I did swimming for quite a long time, from 1st grade to 12th grade, and then from 10th till 12th, no social life. In Bangalore, no TV. Right opposite to the school is the swimming academy. It was monotonous, but surfing was something I found for myself, and I never put so much pressure into it. You know, swimming used to be like too hectic. Winning. It used to be all about winning championships and stuff like that. But in surfing in general, I started enjoying the sport. Even if I'm not training for the competition, I used to just go have fun in the ocean. Now, for the last 2 years, we don't have any competition, but we have fun in the ocean. Trust me, any adventure sport is fun. You will not get bored. The adrenaline rush will keep getting you go, and the addiction is there. It's like riding a bicycle fast or riding a motorcycle fast. The adrenaline rush will keep you going. And even if I will compete, even if there's no championship, there's no stopping because you start missing the ocean and you start missing to surf. So that is there. It will push you. At some point, you will not feel like letting it go. If it is getting monotonous, if you're getting bored, then you should take a break. Do some other sport. Go do some other sport. Don't keep. Go play tennis. Go dancing. Learn Bharatanatyam. Learn Kuchipudi. Learn some painting activities. All that will help you. But after a point, you will want to come back to what you've been doing before. It's like love fair. You will come back to it. It will call you back. But take breaks when you get bored. You should be doing that. Sometimes even surfing gets very monotonous. After a huge championship, I'll take a break. Then my mom will be like, "So you forgot surfing after the championship?" I said, "I need some break." And then you will know, okay, the competition is coming back. You need to go on board. You'll go and start training. So this will happen to you when you grow.
Have you faced any big waves, ma'am?
Yes. Big waves, not very big. In whatever we have in India, up to 6-7 feet I've faced.
Mom, any suggestion for sports which is based on water and heights?
Water and heights. See, in Chennai, I would say rowing is one sport. You will be in the water. Scuba diving you can learn is the best for the heights and water. We have scuba diving in Kovalam. There is the Ocean Delight. You can note it down. Ocean Delight Diving School or something. Yeah, it's the Ocean Delight. They're certified by PADI. So for heights, I have this heights issue, but I know to swim, so it's fine. But though I'm top of the water, I still haven't explored the underwater, the ocean. That's a different whole aspect. So I'll also be learning. But for you to be a pilot, I think this will give a similar feeling, the scuba diving.
Okay.
I think one way of getting into water is to learn swimming, isn't it? And you also have the opportunity of having such a big swimming pool in school. So once you're all back, I think you should enroll for a course and you should start swimming. And the opportunity is there just next to you, right?
It's a basic life skill you should all know. It's just like walking or cycling or swimming. It's a very must basic skill you should know. No choice. There's no chance of enrolling, ma'am. Tell them they should enroll.
No, they are offered from grade 4. Swimming is given in school. So definitely, I think, all of us, like when we were young, they just used to throw us in a well. We had something called Sorakudukai, like the bottle god that used to be tied on our back and they will throw us in the well. So we have to learn swimming and come out. So that's how we all learned swimming during summer in a big well. So now we have the opportunity. Children, I think you should use to learn swimming. That's very important life skill,
Very
as she
important.
said.
Yes. Even we used to have in our school, but nobody used to get the swimsuit. We used to do the PT. So we used to have PT and swimming. So some of my friends used to do PT instead of swimming. So, but it is a skill, kids. We should learn. Huh? We can't say that when you go to a beach, you should have the love to rush and jump into the ocean and have fun. You should be like that.
But in our school, we will never want to miss a swimming class. We used to always jump into the water and play.
Okay, so my friends, I was telling, there was people of mine used to do, but some of my friends, buddy, let's not swim today, dude. Let's just play. Come, let's go.
The most fun part in swimming is like diving. We jump into
The sirs used to restrict us for some time, but we used to often jump from the top. And one day, during a swimming class, I dived into the water, and my ears, nose, everything was completely blocked. For the whole day, I couldn't breathe properly.
Your buddy is here.
She's my cousin.
It's okay. It's nice to see you all at home. Different environment you're all learning.
I think we have definitely taken much of your time.
Yes,
May I
ma'am.
request Sandana, Mrs. Sandana Arumugam? I think we are into the fag end of the session. Yes.
To be truthful,
Yes,
we can't stop. We feel like we should not end the session.
Oh. Yeah,
That's
definitely.
amazing.
We will call Vilasini ma'am one more day. Yeah, we can all interact, learn about her adventure, and once everything is normalized, I think you should visit our school too. Vilasini, you have little small plans. Yeah.
May we request others to please go on mute? Yes, go ahead now.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Vilasini, I think the first thing came to all our minds was Walt Disney's words. All our dreams will come true when you have the courage to pursue them. I think you stood true in every spirit to those words of Walt Disney. Amazing, dear. None of us could stop smiling, and as one of the child said, our eyes were popping every time you said something. It is amazing to learn that the sea is your world and you miss the world every time you feel you're out of it. You are just not a career enlightening session today. I think you played the role of a mentor, a coach, a friend, a student, a daughter, a mom. I could reflect on so many things I would have told my daughter. So there were so many connections you created in those little slides of yours and your lovely speech. You've touched all our hearts. God bless you. And we thank Pupil School, Dr. Savita, Dr. Rajesh, Dolly ma'am, and all the heads of school who inevitably they keep bringing such lovely people to their children. So the child just shared that they never stop or keep away from the swimming session in the school. I think that's definitely because of the beautiful coach, the environment, the safety, the cleanliness that's taken care in the school. So it's lovely, dear, lovely to have you. Thank you, school heads, for creating such a beautiful platform for the children. I'm sure as much as I'm blushing and feeling that happiness inside, each child, as somebody said, we don't want the session to end. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, teachers. Love you, Vilasini. Thank you so much.
So it's not an ending, Vilasini. So it's an open invitation. The moment you touch Chennai, you have the big family of people here. Please do come and visit all our little ones. They'll be waiting eagerly to meet.
I'll definitely come and meet them all, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. Ma'am, I have one question here. I saw these in decathlons. There's a kid, Devansh.
Devansh.
That's the board. That's the stand-up paddling board. But you need to learn the sport first before you buy the board. Go learn and see if you like it, and then invest on the board. You can buy the board. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Sadhana, ma'am. It was. I'm just overwhelmed today. For the kids, I have also asked brilliant questions. I thought it'd be hard for them to get in align with me. But they asked about wind. What is her name? Daksha asked about glasses. So all this I have to go back and think as an athlete and being in the field of sports science. I should be thinking how, even if I'm coaching, I should be thinking, if I get a kid who has a high amount of power, how she's going to watch. So it's all good questions and brilliant, everybody. Well disciplined and well monitored a talk. I always wonder how does the kids manage to do online classes with the teachers, but brilliant. The kids are all pro in the technology now.
That's one skill we also impart, self-management, so I think they are amazing. If you notice, Daksha is from grade 4. I was so happy to see them interacting. Yashvi also. We have called them for, another interaction. That's great. So now children, all of you together can give a big thanks to Vilasini ma'am.
Ma'am, can we open them for a photograph?
Why not?
Excuse me, ma'am. Can you just repeat the name of the school, scuba diving school?
Ocean Delight.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can you type it on the chat, Vilasini, if it's okay with you? Thank you.
Children, switch on your video. We will have a picture with the speaker.
Am I there?
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Also, please make me the picture if you could, or if Vidya ma'am is there, she can send me on.
Sure, Vilasini.
Sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am.
You were awesome.
This will also be uploaded on YouTube, Vilasini.
Sure, ma'am. Then I can share it to my people. Sure, ma'am. Thank you. Thanks for Savita ma'am and I don't get the sir's name.
Dr. Rajesh. Dr. Rajesh.
Dr. Rajesh, Savita ma'am, Dolly ma'am, Vidya ma'am, Sadhana ma'am, Lakshmi ma'am, and all other technicians who's helping this online platform to go. Thank you so much for all the kids and parents listening to me. It's my pleasure to be here and thank you.
Thank you, Vilasini. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you.
Ma'am is here.
It's Dr. Savita.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Thank you.